What is up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves you had yourselves a great weekend. So, with season 2 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds finished up last Thursday, I did put my review of episode 10 out on the channel. So if you have not watched that yet, be sure to go check that out as well. But for this video, we are going to rank I guess we're gonna rank the season 2 episodes. Now I am ranking the way I am ranking this, because obviously all the episodes are not perfect or anything like that. The way I am ranking them is basically based off enjoyability. So basically, how much did I enjoy that particular episode? So that's how I'm going to go through it and pick out which is my favorite. And I'm not saying all these episodes are bad or anything like that. Obviously, they all have their flaws and things like that. But that's just how I'm going to do it. I'm ignoring the flaws, and I'm just going to judge it based on how much I enjoyed these episodes. Now, a lot of them were tough. I will be honest. A lot of them were, especially towards the top. It was very tough trying to figure out which order I wanted to put them in. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. So, there's 10 episodes. So, coming in at number 10, I have episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. This one, it is definitely the weakest episode of Strange New World season 2, and it was very disappointing because number one, it's just not that good of an episode. But number two, we were told for quite a while that we were going to get an Ortegas based episode. Well, this was supposed to be the Ortegas based episode, but it didn't feel like it as much. Obviously, we got a clip of when they're preparing to go down to Rigel 7 earlier in the year before season 2 came out. You had Ortegas and Benga and La'an. They're walking towards to meet Pike as they're going down to the planet, and this was going to be Ortegas' first away mission. Turns out that wasn't the case, and what we get was, I'm Ortegas, and I fly the ship. So, and then I guess it's just I didn't really care for the story as much. There was a little fun little stuff in it, but it was just like, I don't know if I really care this much about this particular episode as well. So that's why this is coming in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, we have Subspace Rhapsody. Now, I am not a musical based person. I will listen to it depending on what it is. Like for instance, like I said, I'm not a musical person, but for instance, Hamilton. I will gladly sit and watch Hamilton. Phantom of the Opera. There are certain exceptions to that rule. This was a very fun episode. It was very cool hearing everybody singing, and Ethan Peck did great. The actress who plays Uhura has such a great singing ability. It was just a fun episode. But I would definitely say I would have liked maybe more of a variety in the songs, because in most musicals you do get your variety of songs, whether it's jazz, the blues, bluegrass. There's always some kind of variety in the style of music that's performed. But in this situation, I felt like that wasn't the case. So you could probably say that's a little disappointing. I think that could have made the episode a little bit better as well if there was a variety in the songs that were presented. But I'm not too upset about the episode. I really enjoyed it. as well. So it it is what it is. It is very fine, but it comes in at number 9 for me. Coming in at number 8, we have Lost in Translation. This was a little fun episode. Again, a lot of these were just pretty good episodes that I enjoyed. This one we have the Enterprise building a station to counter Gorn, not necessarily incursions, but Gorn expansion, and it just come to find out there is an alien race that lives within the nebula that has been trying to make contact with somebody to let them know that we're here, and if you turn on this station, you're essentially killing all of us. And we got Kirk. We got Kirk again for the second time. I was really surprised at how many times we got him this season. I think we got him like 3 times throughout the season. We get Kirk here. We get a small. Wait, is it 3? Yeah, it is 3 times we get called. We get Kirk. But this was just a pretty fun. Again, another fun episode. I really liked it because towards the end of it, you get Spock, Kirk, and Uhura sitting there having a drink together, and obviously we know what that future looks like for those 3. So again, it was a pretty little fun episode right there in itself. Coming in at number 7, The Broken Circle. Now this was originally close to the bottom, maybe probably like number 9 is what I originally had it, but it was I brought it up because of episode 8, and I'll talk about that when I go into it. But episode 1, we get a fun little, jump back into the series of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. Pike's away trying to find basically a lawyer for Una. Spock's got to steal the ship to go help La'an. We get Klingons. What really was fun for me about this episode, it wasn't necessarily the Spock aspect of the episode. It was more of the Chapel and M'Benga, because obviously we know about the Klingon War that happened, and those 2 are veterans, as are most of the crew on the Enterprise. Are veterans of the Klingon War, and it was so cool to see little just aspects that was going on, and just dropping. For instance, like what was it, the Battle of Jagal, that gets brought up later. And so the reason I brought this episode up a little bit higher is because of its tie-in to episode 8, and I'll go into that episode when we get to it. But it was fun. It was a very fun episode. I really loved watching Chapel and M'Benga take on Klingons. That was just a very, very fun to watch. And again, it was a pretty solid way of us jumping back into Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. Coming in at number 8, Under the Cloak of War. This one is a very controversial episode. I like it because obviously it deals with trauma. Obviously they're doing it their own way, but I think they do a good job of representing what trauma is to a lot of people. Again, people who've come from war suffer from PTSD and those kind of things, and we get the perspective of Ortegas, Chapel, and M'Benga. Again, people who served in the Klingon War, but the story is primarily focused on M'Benga and Chapel, because we get the first introduction of those 2 characters on Jagal, where Chapel just beams in and she's immediately put to work, and it's just casualties just mounting and mounting as this battle's going on throughout the episode. And we see where M'Benga, there's a wounded Starfleet personnel, and he's so badly damaged they have to get him to a ship, but they can't do that at the moment, so they save him in a pattern buffer. But later on in the episode, the power goes out for the transporters, and they have to kind of purge the systems. Well, one of the systems that they have to purge is the one that has the Starfleet personnel in it, and it was just so crazy to watch because Chapel hesitates to push it, but Mbenga doesn't. You sacrifice one life to save the lives of millions, and so it kind of reminded me of Save It Private Ryan. You have a squad of soldiers, like I think seven guys are sent on a mission to retrieve one person, and the amount of guys that are sacrificed for this one person, um, that's what I thought of. I thought about that. Um, you sacrifice one life to save the lives of millions, and that's war. That is definitely war. The ending was like, honestly, I could see where the ending was kind of like controversial because like they did that whole distorted frost glass where you can't really see what's going on. The guys, they're fighting, and uh, got Raw, if I remember his name correctly. Obviously, he ends up dead. Then it's this whole situation. Well, did Mbenga kill him? What was all that? What was the situation? And the way they handled it was not very good. But I mean, overall, it was still a pretty interesting episode to watch. But I think it could have been handled a lot better. But so that's number 6. Coming in at number 5 is episode 3, Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. Little fun. You always got to have these temporal back to the past episodes in Star Trek. This was a very fun episode. I really, really enjoyed it. And I mentioned it when I did the review of it. The only criticized thing I have was like how quickly they moved with this Kirk and La'an relationship. It just seemed like a little too fast to like make sense. But obviously it is what it is. It does somewhat pay off later on. But this episode was really important because we got our first look at a young Khan in this timeline. So that was very fun. And it was just a pretty fun episode to watch, honestly. And I really, really enjoyed it. Number 4, we have Charades. This one, I'm telling you, it's like really hard trying to determine on where I wanted to place these episodes. This was so much fun. I enjoyed human version of Spock. It was just everything about it was just crazy. The ritual they had to go through, the sort of not necessarily like racism, but just the prejudice of T'Pril's mother that was going on, and I even to this day I still say like I felt bad for T'Pril because it was just like she even said it. Everybody on the Enterprise knew about Spock's situation, but no one bothered to mention it to her. I mean, Spock mentioned that she was already under pressure because this dinner was important. Her mother is her mother. They debated like for 4 hours, I think it was, over the dress she was wearing, and Spock didn't want to put a lot of pressure on her, so he just kept it from her. Obviously, it's a bad thing to do, but he was also trying to look out for T'Pril as well. And then obviously we have we get Chapel and Spock finally kissing, and I just felt bad for T'Pril. It was a fun episode, but I just felt bad for her in that situation. Coming in at number 3, we have the season 10 finale. I'm sorry, season 2, episode 10 finale. Hemogeny. We get the Gorn back, and we get to see a fully matured Gorn. The ending really was like kept me in suspense. We get a young Montgomery Scott. Uh, this episode was definitely just completely wild. I mean, I what a cliffhanger to have uh to end this season. Now, obviously, with the writer's strike that's going on, we don't know the future of Strange New Worlds when it comes to season 3. Until that is resolved, we're stuck with this cliffhanger. But I enjoyed like I mentioned this when I did my review for episode 10. The moment I heard that Scottish voice, I was like, that's Scotty, or is he Irish? Is he Irish or Scottish? I can't remember which one. Oh, dang it! Now I can't remember. I can't remember. But I was like, oh, that's Scotty. And again, because if you think about it, towards the season finale, not I think it was the season finale, but in the first season we get our first introduction to Kirk, and then this season we get our introduction to Scotty. So I mean, we're already like rolling through a lot of these original series characters. But we still gotta have Chekhov. There's Bones, and then there's wait, is that it? Sulu. We gotta have Sulu, and then your core Enterprise characters are all gonna be set: Uhura, Kirk, Spock, Bones, uh, Sulu, Chekhov. So it's getting close. We're having all these guys come in, and it was just a fun episode. It made me laugh a good bit. It was kind of predictable too, with Captain Patel in the shuttle with when the Gorn was like looking at her and she stood in between it and Pike. I was like, oh, she's infected with Gorn eggs. This had a very Aliens vibe to it. Aliens 3, Aliens 2 kind of vibe to it, and I dug it. And there were like a lot of examples throughout the episode of pulling inspiration from the Alien franchise. And it did the same thing in season 1 when we first introduced to the Gorn. There's several different Alien kind of similarities in between the two franchises. And so very fun episode. I can't wait to see how this is resolved in season 3 when we get season 3. Coming in at number 2, Ad Astra Per Aspera. This episode is where I felt like this was going to be a really good season. Now, season 1 that I mentioned, episode 1 that I mentioned, it was an alright episode. I actually would have preferred this episode be the first episode of season 2, because it really represents what Star Trek is basically. We go through the whole situation where Una is basically lied about her augmentations in Starfleet records, but she joined Starfleet because she saw the difference between a crew an away team that came down, and she wanted to be a part of that. This was just a fun, solid, deep-rooted, thought-provoking episode because I mean, again, Starfleet was, they probably, again, because of the eugenics war, because of Khan, Starfleet thought they were doing what they did, what was best. And it's even mentioned Starfleet tries to do the right thing, but that right thing comes off, or it turns into a prejudice thing by accident. It's obviously not on purpose. You have these augmentations, these Illyrians separated from the rest of people, and either if they want to join Starfleet, they have to get rid of their augmentations. And it's just, there's a lot of stuff that you can pull and correlate with today's world in this episode. That's why I give it. That's why it's number 2 for me. It's a really solid episode. It really makes you think about how we treat each other in today's society. So definitely, this is why it's a solid number 2 for me. But obviously, number 1 is Those Old Scientists. Now, before I watched this episode, and this was brought up before the season started, I knew nothing about Star Trek Lower Decks. I probably heard things here and there about it, but I never watched it. But because of me watching this episode, like not long after me watching this episode, I just binge watched the first 3 seasons of Lower Decks, and my God, do I love Star Trek Lower Decks. Boimler and Mariner are... Now, it's really cool. The voice actors portraying their live action, their counterparts in this show was great. I really felt like now watching Strange Lower Decks and then rewatching this, they really brought those characters. It was just a seamless transition between the animated to real life. And it was just so much fun, and I really, really enjoyed this episode. And it's really got me excited for season 4 of Lower Decks that comes out September 7th. There's no... I mean, obviously, if you dive it deep into it, you can probably find some things here or there. But this episode was just so funny. It was so fun, and I really loved it. It is definitely, for me, one of the best Star Trek episodes of the entire franchise. And I can't wait to see more things like this. It was just good. That's basically all I can say. It was such a good episode. And like, it's an episode that I could probably watch 1,000,000 times and never get bored with it. And then towards the end, where Mariner and Boimler are explaining to Una about the poster in his bunker, or not in his locker, and how Una's the poster child for Starfleet in their timeline, and it inspired him to join Starfleet, just as it probably it inspired countless others to join Starfleet. So, it was just great. It was just so awesome to see. And this season, again, this has been a pretty fun season to watch. And was it perfect? No. But I personally feel like there were more good than negative in this season. And like I said, I'm very excited for season 3. But obviously, with the way everything is going on with the writers striking and everything like that, I'm fine waiting until these actors, these writers get paid what they're worth. And if that means us maybe never getting season 3, it is what it is. But I do hope we get season 3. I think we'll get season 3. I think everything all that will be resolved. I don't know when, but I do think it will hopefully be resolved in the future. But that's pretty much it for my rankings of season 2 episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It was definitely a fun ride, and I'm very, very looking forward to Star Trek Lower Decks. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment below, tell me what you guys thought about the season, and other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.